It's Monday, and that means it's time for a mock draft. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today I wanted to do a mock draft, and we're going to do a little bit of a crazy one. We're going to do a crazy mock draft where we trade our first round pick for one of the top end wide receivers that become available, and let's just see how the draft would play out in that scenario. So let's not waste any time. Let's hop right in to the mock draft. And here it is. We're going to be using the PFF mock draft simulator. We need to do a little bit of some maintenance is what I'm going to call it with the mock draft simulator because technically the New York Jets pick swap for 144 and 114 hasn't happened yet. So I'm going to force this trade so that we have pick 114, which is the pick that we're supposed to have. But also, I'm going to be doing the thing that obviously is not really going to happen. The Minnesota Vikings would be really, really dumb to let a guy like Justin Jefferson go. Like, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. But I'm going to offer this trade. And, like, dude, I'm not even going to force the trade. This trade gets accepted. And like I said, if he does become available, I'm doing this trade 10 out of 10 times. Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the NFL. Partnering him with Garrett Wilson would just be absolutely insane. Now, let me be very clear here. You can only make this trade, you can only do something like this if the expectation is that you're going to also fix the offensive line in free agency. So that's what we're going to assume, that the New York Jets have gone out and signed a left tackle, that the news and the reports that Elijah Vera Tucker is going to play right tackle is true, and we're going to go under that assumption. And I'm also going to assume that we either signed a guard or a center on the interior of the offensive line. Not a super high level one, but just someone that can play, right? Like Nate Herbig, who went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's expected that he's possibly going to get cut from the Steelers. You could bring him back on a cheap deal, and he could play right guard for you, or he could play left guard for you. And that's the assumption, is that we've signed a big-name left tackle and then a good interior offensive lineman, and that's how we're going to go about this draft. So let's not waste any more time. Let's start the draft. Let's have these conversations. Let's see what happens. And here we are at 72, and the New York Jets there's a couple of really interesting players here. Now, for me, I know that a lot of people aren't going to like this, but immediately the names that pop out to me are Rook Orohoro, the interior defensive line out of Clemson, and Brandon Dorlus, the interior defensive lineman out of Oregon. And like, that's just, but Christian Mahogany is right here. And I feel like you have to take Christian Mahogany. I would love to be able to walk away with one of these interior defensive linemen. It's a position that the New York Jets desperately need. But I also feel like if you can get a guy like Christian Mahogany and now you can cut Laken Tomlinson, that is a better situation for everybody. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Christian Mahogany. I'm going to put him in at right guard, put Joe Tippmann in at center, and now at left guard, we have whoever it is, the interior offensive lineman that we brought in. And that's actually a really good offensive line, in my opinion. So, boom. Offensive line has been taken care of. So is the wide receiver room. We did that in the first round, obviously, with trading for Justin Jefferson. And now we can start filling out the rest of the roster. Now, couple of names that immediately jump out to me on this board right now is one, cornerback Max Melton out of Rutgers. The New York Jets are going to need to put in bodies in that cornerback room, especially if you have any type of long-term planning for the New York Jets. You've got to remember that Michael Carter, DJ Reed, and Brandon Echols are all on deals that are going to expire really, really soon. So refilling that cupboard, as well as the fact that we're probably going to lose Bryce Hall in free agency. So this is a name that I'm looking at. Wide receiver Javon Baker. I love wide receiver Javon Baker. I've talked about it a lot. And if you can bring in Javon Baker and push, Allen Lazard down the depth chart, he's now wide receiver 4. Javon Baker's wide receiver 3. And now Garrett Wilson and Justin Jefferson are wide receivers 1A and 1B. That's a really good, loading up, getting ready to go and get to make a Super Bowl run. McKinley Jack. That's it. Okay, so I figured it out. I've talked myself into Javon Baker. I love me some Javon Baker. I think he's great, and I think that he's going to be able to be a really nice thing. Then I'm also going to get McKinley Jackson, interior defensive lineman out of Texas A&M. McKinley Jackson is a Dom C darling. Dom C loves McKinley Jackson. He turned me on to McKinley Jackson, and I am a big fan of his as well after watching his tape. The guy definitely needs a little bit of development time, but playing next to Quinnen Williams, playing on the interior of the defensive line is only going to help him, and I think that that's a great pickup for the New York Jets long term. Now we got to start looking at the other side of the ball and starting to fill in some depth pieces. You know, we got to probably go out there and get ourselves a running back. We went and got our wide receiver, and that's fine. But running back and tight end are still positions that we probably need to go out and fill. There isn't really a tight end right here that I'm super comfortable with, so we're going to ignore that. And this isn't really the best tight end class anyway. But this is a pretty good running back 3 class when you want to get like a really like a day 3 running back. This is a place where you can do that. So that's what I'm going to do actually. And I'm going to take, just for the namesake, Frank Gore Jr. He's not all that bad, and I do think that he's probably going to end up as an undrafted free agent. But if you can bring him in, have him help and compete for running back 3, I'm going to do that. I like the idea of that, and so that's the plan there. And we just got to start addressing the defensive back room. We just lost a defensive back from Pittsburgh, so let's take a defensive back from Pittsburgh. A.J. Woods, the cornerback out of Pittsburgh. You're coming to the New York Jets in the 7th round here. Got to start replenishing those cupboards. We didn't take an edge rusher in this class, so you know what? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Boom. Cedric Johnson, edge rusher out of Mississippi. Again, when you get to the 7th round, these are all crapshoots anyway, but let's start. We got to address at least some positions that we need. I'm going to take an athletic safety. Josh Proctor, boom, beautiful. Jeremy of Jets Chaos and I actually did a whole film study on Josh Proctor, and I'm a big fan of his, and I think that, you know, late into the draft, he'll be a great option. And then now with Mr. Irrelevant, it almost feels like you have to take a quarterback with Mr. Irrelevant, right? After the whole Brock Purdy situation. Of the guys that are available, the only one that I really kind of like and feel comfortable with is Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman, Aaron Rodgers, and then whoever it is that we bring up as a backup. Let's just call it Jimmy G, and we'll have the most handsome quarterback room in all of the NFL, hands down, no doubt about it. But here we are. This is the full mock draft for the New York Jets. Christian Mahogany coming into play right guard. Javon Baker coming in at wide receiver 3. McKinley Jackson helping support the interior of the offensive line and just being the absolute athletic freak that he is. Frank Gore Jr. coming in, filling in his dad's legacy, but hopefully better than what he did here in the New York Jets. A.J. Woods, Cedric Johnson, Josh Proctor, and Sam Hartman all rounding out the bottom half of the roster and just providing some depth. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of this mock draft? What would you have changed in the situation where you trade for a wide receiver with your number 10 pick? We got a lot of mock drafts to do, so let's have some fun, and that's what this one was. PFF gave me, if you can see it here in the bottom, a C+ grade on this draft. Let me know your grades in the comment section below. And last but not least, go Jets.